All right, we're going to do 2 frameworks today then. Or, well, we're only going to, not that that matters. I don't know where I was going with that. But we're going to do how to study for exams. So the whole deal again is if some kid comes up to you and says, hey, look, I'm not doing well. How should I study for an exam? This is what you're going to tell them. Right? This is what you're going to give them. So in my mind, there are 2 kind of parts to an exam. If you're going to study for an exam, you have to do 2 things. You have to know what's going to be on the test. You have to know how to do those problems. That's it. Right? So if you know what's on the test, you can do them, you're going to do fine. That's the deal. So your whole job for studying for a test, what's going to be on it, and how am I going to do those problems? All right, let's start with the first one then. How do you study for exams? So you've taken math classes, you've done all that stuff. How do you study? So what's the first one? So how do we study for an exam? Let's start with Nathan, and we'll kind of weave our way through.
This is like how I first.
Yeah, how do you study for an exam?
So I said, for the most part, if there's an equation or formulas, I'll try to just memorize those.
Mm-hmm.
If it's a class with proofs, I'll try to understand the context behind the proof, because it's basically impossible to try to memorize proofs. Proofs that are somehow work.
And do you do a bunch of proofs to do that, or you just try to, do you like study one?
Abstracts, like same as with the abstract, and you have a bunch of proofs.
But I mean, do you look at one and try to get it, or do you just look at one proof and try to understand it, or do you practice a bunch?
We'd have sheets telling us here's what we should look at,
Mm-hmm.
and it had like 10 proofs a section.
Okay.
So I just look at them, kind of understand here's the basic context of. I can't tell you word for word, but I understand what it's trying to prove, so I can kind of reword it anyway.
Yeah, I like that.
The vocab, I will look at that a lot. Then I get into groups and we quiz each other, and I ask everybody else questions to see how they worded it, because there are a bunch of times they say different and it clicked that way.
Okay.
I write down what I consider to be key things on a separate piece of paper, and I just look at that, so I would overload myself.
Nice. I like that.
Yeah.
Jack, how about you?
I pretty much said workout problems that would be on the test.
Homework problems, or you just pick problems, or
Go back.
homework problems? So the ones that were assigned. Okay. Do you ever do extra problems? The ones that were on the
I would do extra problems if I felt the need to, if I wanted to.
How do you pick those?
I would usually pick the ones that would be somewhat similar to
Okay.
the homework
Yeah.
ones.
That makes sense.
Just so then I mean, using different numbers, but,
Yeah.
you know.
I like that.
And then study with others using like whiteboards and chalkboards, just because it's a lot different seeing it up there than it is on a sheet.
That's cool. And you still work problems that way? That's okay. Okay. Chris?
I said like review the definitions and theorems and like look through the notes to like realize how to apply the theorems and definitions. And then do practice problems usually with like other people just in case I don't like exactly know what I'm doing. And then do that practice problem with like different numbers like Jack said. Like at least 3 times in a row, like to get the answer correct.
Yeah, okay. So like the same kind of set of problems you'll try 3.
Yeah.
Nice.
And if I get them right like 3 times, then I feel good about
Then you're
it.
good.
And move on to
I
the
like
next
that.
one.
You like that. So you kind of figure out how to do them first and then you try.
Yeah, like realize how to apply everything that I know that I wasn't like fully getting at first.
I like that. All right, Jenna.
I usually just like look over the homework that I found back and rework through those problems and then just like.
Do you do them all even if you know them or not?
Yeah, I
Those-
usually
okay.
just make sure I actually know it because like I might think I do, but then I forget some stuff or something.
Especially when it gets more complex, there's not
Yeah.
3 lines, there's 30 lines. Going good? Okay, Katie?
I wrote down, I do like review problems, assignments, and worksheets that might be assigned, like, I mean, not so much in college, but like high school and elementary
but
school,
still, yeah.
teachers would give like review guides. So I would do those. I would go back through the book and do, like, a lot of times teachers will assign the even problems. So I would go back and do like the
Yeah.
odd problems.
Nice.
And
Nice.
then I talked about going through completed assignments and quizzes and like trying to study the ones that I got
Oh, yeah,
wrong
quizzes,
to
yeah.
see like
Nice.
to figure out how to do those.
Nice. I like that. I like that. Dallas?
I look at previous quizzes, and then I just do practice problems.
Do you just choose them at random, or?
Hopefully, the teacher gives you a study guide.
Okay.
If not, I'll figure something out.
I just like
It's
to
like
make like a little study guide that has like all the definitions and equations
Okay.
of all the sections and chapters, and then do some problems by myself. But eventually, I like to get to like meet with 2 or 3 people and work problems on boards, just so if I'm doing it right, I know I'm right then, or if I'm doing something wrong, then I can pinpoint what I'm doing wrong.
And then how do you choose the problem?
Mostly just homework problems, but we'll do a lot of like old quizzes. We'll see like a lot of the same stuff come up on
Okay.
both of them.
There absolutely, obviously, there's nothing wrong with any of that. Just make a point that all of you are dependent on someone else to tell you what's on the test. They have to give you homework. They have to give you study guides. We need to, well, I think at all levels there can be obviously a balance between both, but we need to start teaching kids how to do it themselves. When you become a teacher and you start doing tests, you'll see that you look at a set of problems and you see how they're connected. That's what you ask. You don't ask, 10 random problems. So, anyway, interesting point. We'll get to that. What's purpose then? So number 2. So let's take a couple minutes and why do you think we study for exams? Just kind of the underlying idea here is why do we have exams? So it's kind of twofold here. Why do we study for exams and why do we have exams? Okay, so why do we study for exams? How about anybody? Open up the floor. Why? What's the point?
If you study,
I was gonna call on you. It's awesome.
Hey,
That is-
I get to steal.
That is awesome.
If you study, you will know if you learn the material or not, and if you're not, it gives you an opportunity to go back and maybe get some more of that stuff into your long-term memory. It's
Yeah.
kind of in your working memory a little bit. It'll get stuck once you study.
I like that. And now this Sam's point is actually excellent. So now we're getting to the point where we need to figure out what we've learned and what we haven't. If you're doing that so you can do well on the test, that's extrinsic. Okay? But if you're going to use this opportunity to actually organize your thoughts and really figure out what you know and don't know because you want to know and don't, or you want to know and don't know, you want to figure out what you do know, that's intrinsic. If you're really trying to figure out what you don't understand, that's intrinsic. All right? So it depends on your goal, on what type of motivation that might be. Okay, excellent. All right, so we've really got to figure out what we know and what we understand. Anybody else?
I said like preparedness.
What do you mean by that?
Like, so like obviously, or like for me, like where I work out problems, and then see like what steps I would be doing, and then so I want to be prepared for whatever problem there could be,
Excellent.
and numbers there could be, and like the whatever.
Would you mind if I relabel that as organize? So you're going to organize your thoughts. You have this whole jumble of things you learn in a chapter, which in high school, middle school math is a lot. Now let's organize what we got going on. All right, so let's not get a whole jumble of stuff. Let's start getting pieces and organize what we know and don't know. Okay, excellent. All right, so know we understand what we know, and then organize our thoughts. Excellent. Anything else?
To get good grades.
To get good grades. You got to put it in there, though. I mean, it really is the motivation for a lot of students. So, and that's the way our, for better or worse, that's the way the American education system is. We're a testing society, and that's the deal. All you got to do is do well on the test. It doesn't matter if you learn it or not. And that's our culture. So you'll have parents that, this is neither here nor there, but you'll have parents that come in that will demand you to do better and whatever for their kid, not so that they can learn more. It's never about, I want my student to learn. It's so they can have an A. It's always about the grade. It is never about the understanding or the knowledge, ever. It's what are you going to do to get my student to get an A? It's always the grade. So, anyway, so there's lots of heat from all places. Whatever that's worth. All right, so how can we incorporate knowledge and understanding, the difference between knowledge and understanding? How can we incorporate that into telling kids how to study? How can we do that? Okay, how about you now? What do you think? How do we incorporate knowledge and understanding?
Well, for sure, like the clarity of knowledge, be able to state like the vocab and theorems in your own words, so you actually understand. Don't just read them and word them from the book or necessarily.
And that connects them both there. I mean, you're not just memorizing stuff; you're actually making your own connections.
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah, excellent. How about Nathan? What do you think? Knowledge and understanding.
No. I said basically when you're looking at stuff, start with the most basic stuff like you look at basic equations and formulas. I work through how they're used and then start to look for any work and use like in a module class right now. they're learning three-way system equations, so look at each individual way and then look at how you can all three work together.
Good.
One, like they all are used to solve the same thing.
So that first part, absolutely. You got to do the declarative part, right? You have to do the knowledge part. You got to learn the steps. You got to learn the vocab. You got to do all that stuff. Unfortunately, that's where students will stop. The next part is what you just said. Now make the connections. How are they all similar? How are they different? Right? Not necessarily when or how would I know when to use them, but it's in there too. That's the understanding part. But definitely, how are they connected? Excellent. Excellent. Anybody else?
I said understanding like the context of what you're doing. So like if there is a problem that comes up and it's like worded in a different way than like what you're familiar with, and you know what you're.
I like that. So let's go beyond that and I don't know. I use my terminology like a core concept, right, or basic concepts, right? What is it that I can lump all these problems with? Don't only find that, but let's list it. Let's name it, right? How are they all similar like that? All right. I like that. Excellent. Anything else? And that's the understanding part, making the connections. I think we're pretty good at teaching kids how to do the declarative part, the knowledge part. Flashcards, practice problems over and over and over. Do 100 problems. There you go. All right. Want to add?
One thing that like I've always thought about is, or like I guess not always, but just more recently is like why the test is then. Like, is there a reason why like after this concept now there's a test? Like, is it because everything that'll be on that test all connects?
That's a good question.
Or
Absolutely no.
Yeah.
In a sense, though, but you'll find when you start looking at textbooks too, there's always a mishmash chapter of just stuff that didn't relate to things that they can't figure out where it goes, and there's always junk in places just because there's nowhere else to put it. And the answer to that is when I started, we rely so heavily on textbooks that whoever wrote the textbook, we do it by their cutoff dates. By chapter 1, that's what we do. Chapter 2, that's what we do. So I'm with you. And nothing will piss a kid off more than when you jumble the chapters around, but I would do it because you got to do what makes sense to you. Yeah, I'd take sections out of certain chapters and put them somewhere else, just because there's a logical flow. I mean, I don't know who wrote the book. If I like it, I like it. If I don't, I don't. I change it. Yeah, but a textbook's not, unless you're in the district where you have to be on page 2 at day 6, then obviously you can fudge that a little bit, but you still got to be on page 2 at day 6. Yeah, okay, but yeah, that's excellent. I like that. Anything else?
I think like depending on what the topic is and what they're studying at that time, like just having them come up with like their own examples. Like right now, the chapter that my 7th graders just got done with is like analyzing graphs and charts and stuff. So today's lesson was like positive and negative correlations. So I like had them come up with their own examples of what would be like positive correlations and negative correlations. So you can have them do that too to help them make connections.
No, I was going to ask, do you think that's knowledge or understanding? Or a little both?
I think both.
I think so, a little bit. You can extend it one step further and do the justify why you picked that equation.
Right.
That thing, yeah. But I think that it's one of the hardest, it's the best application of understanding this to come up with your own problem, especially stone cold stuff. It's definitely, and it's extremely valuable. Yeah, I like that a lot. All right, so maybe generate your own examples, your own problems for a test. I like that a lot. Okay, how about learning theory there? So how do we incorporate how we think students learn? How are you going to do that into how you study for an exam? All right. How much I know? What do you think?
Well, of course, once again, just putting vocab and theorems in your own words, but then I realized that in some sections, like, from like usually the first section you go over in chapter is like the easiest section possible.
Mm-hmm.
Well, not easiest section, but like every section after that builds on top of that
Oh, I
one,
gotcha.
is what I'm saying. So if you can take a problem, like say you're doing integrals and like derivatives and all that from calculus, take like a function from the first section and just find like the derivative, the antiderivative, and then like figuring out what the value of c is and integrating it both like when there is limits and when there isn't.
I like that. So maybe take a
so it just keeps building on top of each other.
So maybe take a certain given. We're only given one of 4 things, right? Equations, tables, graphs, or verbal. That's it. That's all there is. So take one of those 4 and
Mhm.
the rest of the whole chapter?
Yeah.
That'd be interesting. I like that. Yeah, that definitely forces the connection part, right? And for you actually to make your own kind of construct your own understanding. Yeah, absolutely. Excellent. Dallas, what do you think?
Well, for on how to, so I just put like for the students, just figure out what works best for them, kind of thing. Like
How do you
whether that's through study guides, or giving them a formula sheet, if you're putting both that in their own words, and
Mhm.
planning to make the connection,
Mhm.
just finding how similar.
Yeah,
stuff
I like that.
while also making the connection.
Yeah. So understand yourself, kind of that deal. I like that. Nice. Anyone else? Gotta make eye contact with everybody.
I said repetition. practice
Repetition?
problems.
Yeah. Especially if you're doing what am I thinking? The behaviors part. I mean, there is a big deal about that. If you really want to forge new pathways in the brain, you got to practice, practice, practice. Absolutely. Right? Okay, good. Anything else?
Make sure to ask questions.
Nice. Make sure to write them down too.
Yeah.
Right? Don't, I don't know, skip over the questions you might be generating. Good. Anything else?
I put review games down because kids are competitive, so if they know that they can win,
Hello.
they like that.
You don't mind if we move that to the motivation part? That's a good extrinsic motivator. to be
Okay, I mean, I
competitive.
guess it could. I guess I didn't see motivation down there, but it could go under both. I guess.
Yeah, well, you
Because
definitely
if
could
they
see that.
like, I mean, depending on the game.
Yeah, you could definitely structure a game to hit both. Absolutely. Be an interesting conceptual understanding game. Violent. Get violent. Anything else? Yeah, they really do. See? Hair. It's
It
all
was
about
red. I don't have red hair.
I don't have hair this long either, so.
I love them near your bags.
When you leave,
It's
you
not
just.
It was a bright red. I
Well, she like looked at me.
Pink.
That was why. And like we put all our bags
Well,
next
you
to each
can't
other at practice.
Blame her, right?
No idea.
All right. Anything else? Anything else? Once, twice. All right. The one thing I would add is, if you really believe that you can structure an understanding, that means you have to be doing the problems. It's a big deal that students watch what people do. You get in study groups and you hear what other people do, and you think you get it, because all you do is watch other people. All right. So if you really think that, even the behaviors part, if you want to construct your own pathways, you have to be doing the problems. All right, so don't kid yourself. If someone teach you how to do something, go practice it. All right, but good. All this stuff's excellent. Okay, the last one, the motivation. I don't really want to skip over this, but it's the same kind of deal, right? I see it as twofold: show value in actually studying. Right, show value in how to teach them how to study. That's what we're trying to do here. We need to teach students how to study. Bless you. Yeah, Sam, could you shut up? I was on a roll. That's that'll get a laugh in any classroom in any context ever. This is neither here nor there either, but if you ever have someone visiting your room, if you ever tell them it's your parole officer, that'll always get a laugh no matter what. Make sure you don't have any felonies, because they'll look you up, obviously, if you're trying to hide. My point here was, what was my point? This is my point. When we do this kind of stuff in our class, we're trying to do two things. We're trying to make them successful at our level and make them successful at the next level. All right. So the idea here is to show value in how to study. It's what do you do when you go to the teacher that doesn't give you a study guide, that doesn't give you quality homework? What do you do then? Right. We need to teach them how to be prepared, and we definitely have to teach them how to be prepared for higher ed. You don't get that kind of stuff in higher ed. Right. You might get some practice tests, maybe, if you're lucky, but you're not going to get study guides. All right. And we want to teach them how to be successful. All right. The deal here is no one flunks out of college because they can't pass ceramics. They all flunk out because they can't pass math. So let's stop that trend. I don't know. That was what Sam interrupted.
Yeah.
All right.
Or
Okay. So let's do the same deal. Let's take 10, 15 minutes. Out of what you like and dislike on your sheet, anything that you heard that you like and dislike, construct your framework. Okay, so again, this is the idea that a student comes up to you and says, hey, look, how do I study? This is what you're going to do. All right, so let's do backwards. Now we'll start with Dallas and then weave our way through. What's your framework? Again, if you like something you want to add, if you don't like something, then throw stuff at them. Either way.
So go through each section, look over vocab, see can you put each vocab into your own words. Look at the formulas. Do you have those memorized? Then look over the quizzes. Which problems did you get wrong on the quizzes? Then look over like homework problems. Figure out which ones you know, which ones you don't know how to do, and then do practice problems. Go through the process. Keep reviewing which ones you are still getting wrong after trying to do practice problems. Go through the study guide. If you can ace the study guide, and do everything. And then review the problems you keep getting wrong.
Nice. And absolutely nothing wrong with that, but Dallas has a kind of a bent towards behaviorism, right? It's just practice, practice, practice. Review stuff, memorize stuff, and just keep trudging through it. There's nothing wrong with that, right? Definitely a good framework. All right. Okay, how about Sam? What do you think?
I said create a study guide that outlines the sections and the chapters. And under each section and chapter, write down key definitions in your own words, and then equations, which you can't really write in your own words, maybe different variables. And I said with like a highlighter, like highlight the green, like with green, like sections that you fully understand that maybe you don't have to work as hard on, and then maybe highlight ones in red that you know that you really need to focus on.
How do you know if you fully understand something?
I guess by just doing like looking over your homework and quizzes, and if those problems come up in that section, just maybe underline it and say, like this is where I'm kind of struggling. Like maybe write down like a key concept that you don't understand. You can.
With that kind of deal, you do problems.
Yeah, like just looking over your old homework and stuff. Maybe you can identify some stuff that you need to go ask a teacher before the exam happens.
But not to keep pressing it, but you mean how to do problems, right?
Yeah.
So like I can't do 12, or I can do
Yeah.
half of 12, or I don't know why it's 6 and I get 30.
Or if you just on the quiz, you just took a quiz and you had no idea what the whole thing was talking about, then maybe you should really go look, get some answers.
Okay.
And then once you know what information is on the test, you can start to make sure you know this information. Start out by working problems that you've had on the homework and old quizzes.
Okay.
After you're comfortable with this, try and meet with 2 or 3 other students in a small study group. This way you can make connections that you have not made yet. Once you have this, you can go back to your study guide as a tool to review information. That includes your own definitions, equations, and worked out problems. Then make sure you study all the material, even what you think is easy, because then you might miss something. And if your information is not organized, you're going to be less likely to make connections about all the information. And I said ask questions as well. So.
Okay. And still kind of a lean towards behaviorism, but that I'm not saying that's bad either. That's the way kind of math is. But it depends what you do in your groups. If you just watch people do problems, then again, we're just reinforcing how to do problems. But yeah, nothing wrong with that. Let you know.
Look over vocab and theorems and put it in your own words, and then practice problems on homework quizzes, and also or any other problems in the book that weren't assigned. Possibly develop your own problems and work them out, and then if it's possible, get with a group of people and give each other problems to work, because then you necessarily don't know what problem they're going to give you until they give it to you. So.
And that's a problem that you have made up, or it could be anything.
Well, it could be from a book or something, or one they make up.
So like they make a mini kind of quiz for you.
Yeah,
okay.
Basically.
Okay. I like that. Nice.
And then of course, I realized this should actually go before doing any practice problems. Figure out what you do know and what you don't, and fill in the gaps of what you don't understand.
Like all that procedures.
Yeah.
Yep. So kind of go through first and get an idea.
Yeah.
Of the knowledge part.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, nice. Okay.
I know this is like really behaviorist.
I know. I wasn't trying to say it was bad.
No,
it's just,
I know that. I guess when I think about it, like
flowers. Give people flowers. Sorry, Katie. It's twice I interrupted you. Go ahead.
You should be one of those people that holds a sign that says free hugs.
Oh no, I guess when I'm thinking about this, I'm thinking about like if they came up to me and asked what they can do at home, like the night before the test. This is
Okay, what would you say?
what I was thinking. I don't know. But I said, do you review problems when given? If they're picked by the teacher, most likely they're going to be on the test, or like
Or related,
on the
yeah.
test. If the teacher doesn't give problems, you can always ask. Most teachers aren't gonna be like, no, I'm not gonna give you anything to review with. Like, they might tell you like, oh, review these problems.
Oh, I got you. Like, go up and say, hey, look, just, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, I got you.
was looking for extra problems.
That was like Thunder Ahead or something. Give me some problems. Okay. But no, I got you. Yeah. Yeah, good
And
point.
then I said, go back through each section and do at least 5 problems that weren't on your homework, because it'll help refresh your mind on what you did like towards the beginning of the chapter. And if you're still struggling with the concept after 5, or you can't do like 5 in a row right, do a few more.
I like that.
Or choose 5 more.
Sure.
I said review and rework problems that you got wrong on quizzes and homework. And then I kind of went with what Nathan, I think it was Nathan that said it. Start with the basics. Make sure you know the vocabulary and theorems. That's like the beginning of understanding the concept, and then move from there to what steps
I like
and
that.
then how to connect it.
Yeah, but foundation for sure. Yeah. And that's been a common thread, right? Foundation, get your knowledge down. Right, Kristen?
I said figure out what way you think you would study best, like through repetition, practice problems, memorizing things, doing group reviews.
Mm-hmm.
And then go back through your notes and read through them, and then now that you know the material on how to do it, look back at the theorems and formulas and understand how and when you apply them, and be able to make the connections when you do practice problems for the test. And then I said do problems from each section until you're comfortable and confident with it. Ask questions and ask for explanations, or be able to tell what your explanation is.
Nice.
Look back at past quizzes and practice what you missed on those, whether it is the same problem or a similar one. And then understand what you're doing. That way, if a problem is worded in an unfamiliar way, you know what it's asking. And then work with a group on whiteboards if you want.
How do you understand what you're doing? How do you do that?
Hmm?
You said understand what you're doing. How do you do that? So the very
Figuring
last.
out why you're using that theorem for this problem or something like that.
I like that, but at least ask the questions, yeah? Why are we doing that? I like that. All right, Jack.
I started with saying there's probably going to be a lot of information, and so the first thing you want to do is get organized.
How do you do that? Oh, go ahead. Sorry. You're going to answer that? Go ahead.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I was going to say take vocab and key concepts. Use either the definition in the book if you like that, or write your own, just so then you're able to make that connection with yourself with those words. And then if there's a way to remember that, whether it's some type of memory device,
Sure.
use that.
Sure.
And then let's see just because that'll help you remember and understand better. Look at the concepts and see if there's any connections between them. And if there is, write down that connection. Take a look at previous homework problems, quizzes, and sorts, and see if there's, and ask yourself why these problems. And then if you're able to answer that question, then you should see the connection between the problems that should be on the test. If not, then this gives you an opportunity to go back and maybe take a look at that stuff.
And what's the why part? What do I look at? I mean, why might problems be on a test?
I'm sorry.
So why might problems be on the test? So if I look at a question and I need to know why it's on the test, what kind of things should I look for?
I guess be looking for how that problem would connect with one of the concepts.
Okay. Also keep in mind too, there kind of are 3 parts to any problem. There's the given, how it's worded, all the same stuff. It's the solution method, so how would other things or concepts would apply to that problem, and then the end is the result, the answer, right? So you may, and especially, I don't know, when you get higher up, I mean, you may start to do things because you get a certain answer. I want to see what happens when I get something divided by 0. I want them to know what that's all about. So look at those 3 parts for the why. That's how we figure out if they're similar or different. It's what we're given, how we do it, what we have to apply, and what we get. That's what we look at. Yeah, excellent. Okay. Go ahead.
Oh, and then, so yeah, and then, just try to go back and practice those problems that you think, or that you might not understand, and then as a little, I guess, motivation, I said strive to be successful at this level so you can be prepared and successful at the next level.
I mean, put in the work to learn how to study. Yeah, I like that. That should be a common mantra, I think, because they just think practice problems, practice problems, practice problems. But you need more. So tests will do two things for us. It'll help us learn the material and help us study. We're trying to teach them how to study, right? Anybody could just, do all the problems in the book. All right, Nathan, what do you think?
So, I've always been a fan of the studying in groups. So, just that's the thing. It's like you can study in a group if you want, or by yourself. It says, make sure to look at the quizzes. Homework is kind of a guide or backbone of what you cover, so you know kind of where to start. And also a general hint for when you start to study. The longer you spend on the material, like on a certain part in class, the more likely you'll see it.
Sure.
That's kind of how I do it. Then start back at the very basics. Look at things like vocabs. Look at basic equations. When you look at equations, don't necessarily memorize. Do as little memorizing as you can, but when you look at an equation, look at what an equation means. So if you're looking at y equals mx plus b, don't try to memorize the equation as much as memorize what y and x, b all stands for.
Okay, and how they fit together? Sure. Sure.
Then try to work through some problems using these basic equations. There's things like proofs. Again, don't memorize it. Look for any underlying connections that you know, like why you're allowed to do this stuff. Look for any overarching themes. Try to make any connection possible to prior knowledge. And just basically going through as many practice problems as you can. Again, with the group or not, it's personal preference. And I did say if you have certain trouble areas, maybe write those down on separate sheets so you know these are where I'm struggling most. And then if you have time, either depending on if it's at night or during the day, go talk to the teacher or other students or look at notes in the book to review those more than the stuff you get.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah. The group thing is always great. Just make sure it's not I'm watching people do it all the time. That's where we get into. And I can't stress it enough. We watch, and we think we're excellent. Well, it's because who we watch is excellent. Yeah, all excellent, all good stuff. Here's the one that I had developed, so we can look at it. So for the exam, just what I talked about, there's two things. You got to know what's on the test and how to do things. And you'll see the words that are highlighted, because if you look back on how I suggest to do homework and classwork, these are the key things that I suggest. So all of this should mine ties into why I want you to do homework and classwork the way I want you to. All right. So if you remember, I asked for key concepts, I asked for a core concept, I asked you to do misconceptions and strategies. That was all for a reason. Okay. And you tell kids to, you study for the test the very first day you get new material. The very first homework assignment, you should be studying for the test. So why spend 4 hours the night before organizing things when I can organize little bits at a time? When I get to chapter 1, section 1, I should have a little side sheet where I organize my thoughts there. So that when I get to the test, I have it all written down already. I don't have to waste time. Anyway, so that's the deal. And I had the same kind of thing. You review problems from the notes, the classwork, which I always gave classwork, and then homework. Right? That's how you're going to figure out what's going on. And I had from that you need to figure out of those things, how are they all connected? What's the core concept? So in each section, there could be a core concept. I find derivatives, I find integrals, I graph lines, but there's something that you need to be able to do. Right? So that's part of knowing what's on the test. And then with each set of core concepts, you really want to lift the similarities and differences. Right? So I have it so you really look at the similarities and differences. So now out of the big concepts, I want to know what the basic concepts are. Right? Out of graphing lines, what do we have? We have y-intercepts, we have slopes, and then so those will jet off. So we can even develop kind of a flow chart, but a flow chart of some. Okay? All right? That's the deal. So that's how I tell kids, that's how you need to figure out what will be on the test. Review problems and now really see how they're similar and different. And then my little note, my intrinsic motivator here is if you really are doing the homework and stuff properly, you don't have to redo this. You've already done it for every single homework assignment. You have a core concept, you have basic concepts, all that stuff. The last thing is, from the list you generated in steps 1 and 2, so you have basic concepts, you have core concepts, then do all this stuff. Right? Right, so now you're going to actually select problems you think are going to be on exam. So step 3 is you're going to generate your own exam. All right. And then, well, you can read the bullets here. But now how each set of questions is worded, right? So it's always about givens, how things are worded. Okay. And then here's the part we talked about before. You can be given an equation, a table, a graph, or verbal. Make sure whatever the context is, you can do it all. So can you write the equation of a line given points, a graph? Can you write it given a table? Can you write it given a verbal sentence? All that good stuff. All right? Okay. And then knowing how to do the problem. This comes from the homework as well. So when you go through your homework, you're going to have a list of things that you learned. Those are your key concepts. You're going to have the things that you misunderstood. Those are your misconceptions. You're going to have strategies already. So in each section, you're already going to have, you can already review how to do things. You've already done all the work on your homework. Okay? You shouldn't be doing all the work when you study. All right? Okay. All right. And then take your tests. So do your problems in step 3. All right. Okay. And then same deal. So look at all that stuff. The final thing that I'd have students do is a final check is I'd go through all the problems. Start at section 1, and you're not doing the problems. You're actually seeing if you understand how they're worded, if you understand all the pieces in the directions. And then if you can tell yourself how to do the problems, then skip them. Then you're done. Go through though and just say to myself, this is how I would do that, verbal. So you can whip through them. Right? That'd be my final check. And that's my deal. I had one extra one. Once you actually take the test, right? You can learn from your progress. Right? When you get the test back, then look through and see how you studied. Actually compare. But that'll come up on our next thing too. All right. So that's on the website. You're welcome to do whatever you want.